Hey everyone, Laurel here, Minnesota Zone 5. Just going to do a little update garden tour. Now we're into mid-June. This Rapido Blue Campanula is really pretty. Really popping there. It's kind of sprinkling out today. A lot of rain. We had couple of nice days. Now we're getting rain. And humidity is rolling in. So, that's going to be fun. I know in a lot of areas, being in the 90s and humid is no big deal, but here it is miserable. I mean, I don't think anybody likes it most places. The smoke bush is still looking spectacular. I hate trimming it, but it's worth it. I also trimmed the shrubbery, finally. The yews, we've got the Russian sage, crazy blue, starting to put on buds, so that'll be in color soon. This Angelina sedum is starting to open the blooms. And then this is a, what's that one called? Plum Dazzler, I think, sedum. We've got this variegated sedum blooming. I love the yellow blooms with like the orange and kind of orange tones to it in the blooms. A couple of blooms coming up on this sempervivum. So those plants, after they bloom, then that plant dies off, but it keeps sending out, the hens keep sending out their chicks. So I'll just keep growing. And we do have some blooms on, these were planted at the same time. These Serendipity Allium. This one, not looking so good. That one looks good. I've said here, this spot, I've planted multiple sedum. I've had hens and chicks there, and nothing has lasted. I had Elijah Blue Fescue at one point. I don't know what's up with that one little spot. This Autumn Charm sedum is also starting to put on some blooms. That blooms pink. And there are a whole bunch of sirens in the background. I don't know if you can hear that. And this sedum also is looking really good this year. But that one is about to open up. That blooms pink. We've got Rapido White and more Rapido Blue Campanula here. Sedum, these little Armeria are done blooming now. Thrift. Another Rapido Blue over here. These get a lot of shade over on this side, so. But I did a little bit more planting over here. I think I showed these last time, the begonias with Smachia. I did not trim the front side of these boxwoods. I trimmed the back side, but the front was in the sun, and I just got tuckered out. So I'll get those. Very cool and rainy today. This one is starting to bloom. I'm not ready with the spot to move it to yet, but that's okay. I'll let it bloom. The Smachia, it'll be covered in bright yellow, really stands out against the dark foliage. The mum, again, is starting to open up. This, whatchamacallit, is still be opened up some more. Deutschland, I'm pretty sure that one is. A few more blooms on this mystery salvia, possibly rose marvel. I did pull up some of the dead material on these carex and then planted another Rudbeckia annual, so we'll see. Begonia's looking good. They've gotten bigger. It's our Surefire Rose. I put in some of this Lemon Ball sedum here in a few places, but my favorite, the Opening Act Pink Dot Phlox, started to open up. This one gets more sun. You can see it's like kind of lightest baby pink with a darker pink center. Really pretty. And these Opening Act Phlox, they do one big bloom cycle, but they kind of keep sending up blooms, so they bloom all summer. They're in fullest bloom in June. But, yeah, they have a really long bloom time. Oh, I see some buds on the bee balm also. That's what these are. Those are going to open to flower buds. That's Pardon My Cerise. We've got another ground cover campanula. A lot more of these Rudbeckia. This is Sahara variety. Opened up here. The irises are mostly done now. The Caesar's brother. I did trim some of those back, but I chopped this yew back. This one takes a while because I usually use hand pruners. I have trouble. I mean, I don't have real fancy clippers. And I only have to do this a couple times a year, so I'm not buying like a power hedge trimmer or anything like that. But this one is kind of hard to do with the big, what are they called, like the manual hedge trimmers. These 3 Supertunia Mini Vistas are starting to fill out. We've got Violet Star, Midnight, and White. 3 more of the lemon ball sedum, and then I did plant a couple more Rudbeckia over here, another lemon ball, and then I put in, that green on the left is a 4 o'clocks, and then this is Coleus Obrido. Otherwise, everything over here is looking kind of the same. Looks really nice. I'm thinking, so I tried to kind of alter this a little bit, but I'm thinking I'll transplant and flip-flop the caramel with this champagne, because I have 2 other champagne over there kind of around the barberry. I think it'll look more evened out. The caramel is just so vigorous. I did plant on the side yard here. We've got hollyhocks starting to put on blooms. These get rust every year. So, I don't know. I planted the African daisies over here. They're doing great. They were pretty stressed in their plant cans, so they're going to recover for a little bit. And then you can see where all the balsam seedlings pop up. These self-seed. They're these chunky, chubby little seedlings. They're really easy to pull. So I don't worry about them self-seeding everywhere. But then I always do, this is all the red acre cabbage. I love red cabbage. I just think it's so ornamental on its own. This is edible, and it doesn't get enough sun here to get really big like it would in the garden. But it gets those beautiful, like pearlized iridescent leaves. Just really colorful and inexpensive. More seedlings coming up. The impatiens, balsamina. More hollyhocks, oh, the hollyhock seedlings are sprouting. I ran the soaker hose a couple times, so that got all the seedlings to sprout. We've got a Leotris, I think this one is white. Whole bunch of foxglove seedlings, and Dalmatian peach foxglove over here. Those I planted last year. And then another Leotris. I had Leotris in here before I planted all this stuff. And then the Overdam Calamagrostis grass. I will eventually expand to this. I think I want to put that other extra phlox that I have in here. But for now, I'm just doing kind of seedlings, make it easy. Oh, mosquitoes have been terrible this year. I love all the rain, but man, the bugs. All right, sorry for my shakiness. The ground's kind of uneven. We'll work our way over to the backyard here. I will say, like, all the shade plants, the hostas, just look absolutely stunning this year. This rain has been so nice. The astilbe, the ferns. I got Solomon seal back there, kind of arching over. I think those are obsidian heuchera, those dark ones, kind of in the corner. And then these 2 are little quickfire hydrangeas. These have been here. These are one of the first things I planted years before I created this bed, but they are just starting now. I love the red stems on these, but they're starting to form their buds. Panicle hydrangeas always bloom a little bit later than some of the other varieties, but they are tough as nails. And then this is an annual. I talked about this, but it's still just spectacular. That's an annual, well, obviously not annual because it keeps coming back, but sold as an annual dianthus. No clue. I didn't save the tag because it was just an annual. It was like in a 4-pack. No clue what variety it is, but then I did trim the seed heads from this, whatever this grass is. All right, we are moving to the back. I do want to show this spirea though. It's starting to it gets these bright pink blooms. I don't really like the form of it, but I like, this is like a genetic anomaly that these do sometime. I forget what variety this is. This was in long before we moved in, but I looked it up at some point. But I like these. It's just like a weird anomaly, and some people trim them out, but I think they look cool. Those like random variegated leaf branches. And then those hot raspberry pink blooms are really pretty. It kind of takes over and it's hard to get back there, but I usually wait to trim it until those are done blooming. Because if you trim it in the spring, you're going to trim off all the early summer blooms. So, all right, moving on. I've been chipping away at the containers. Just about done with the annuals. It's all looking nice. As I said before, I'll do a separate tour on these, so watch for that. This is the one opening act phlox that has powdery mildew. This was overwintered in the garage from last year. So I'm sure it is stressed. None of the ones in the ground have any signs of mildew. But I am a big, very impressed with this Super Bina. This is the Cherry Burst. It's new and improved this year. And I've grown that before, and this year is really looking nice. What variety is this one? Because I have one of these ultra pink. And I think there's also romance pink that I have out in the landscape. But yeah, containers are looking good. Also whittling away at my seed stash. I've given away a lot of things. But these Rudbeckia, so this is the caramel mix Rudbeckia. I started from seed. I got them at Swallowtail Garden Seeds, and I love these colors. They're like these deep apricot burgundy. This one's bicolor. Still waiting to see what that one is. Looks like it's going to be a yellow and orange bicolor, and this one is a mystery. They're so pretty. I think I'm going to plant those with the Dalmatian Cream Foxglove. They'll look really pretty. I've got snapdragons starting to bloom. That's kind of what this area is over here. It just gets all weedy and junky, and I've been wanting to make a little garden here for a while. So I weeded, pulled up some loose grass, and then I just put those, they're like mulch bags down for now just to start killing off the grass, make it easier to dig up. But I would like to plant those snapdragons in there and maybe some of these other seedlings. This is the, I should have trimmed this. It would wait till fall to bloom, but oh well, trim it after it's done. That's the an annual mum that I overwinter on the porch. I've had it for a couple years. And this is the raspberry Super Bina, and I grew this last year. It doesn't get as huge of blooms as the like Super Bina Whiteout, but it is it's just like covered in blooms all the time. There's no lull with this plant, and sometimes it's so covered in blooms you can't even see the foliage. And this is the geranium, the Maverick Scarlet Picotee geranium that I grew from seed. Really impressed with the color of that. Not at all scarlet. It is like a hot neon coral and kind of white. Really pretty. White Picotee, hence the name. Done blooming for the Kinsley's Ghost Honeysuckle. I'll be trimming these tendrils back so that we have walking space. It doesn't get too unruly. The Rock and Grow Back in Black Sedum here, these three. Looking really good, getting humongous. And the self-seeded alyssum is coming up, so I let that kind of go here. I did plant the Senorita Rosalita Cleome from Proven Winners. That rush grass is still coming back. I'm still waiting for blooms on that. Rudbeckia. And I just noticed I must have also dropped some 4 o'clock seeds back here because one of them came up. So I'll just let that be. They're cute. This is the other, not ultra pink. I think this one is called Pink Romance. Opening act, just starting to open, but you can see it's different from the one in the container because it has a white eye. It's that kind of purpley pink, but it has a white center, whereas the other one doesn't. It's mostly just pink. Love the Fragrant Bouquet Hosta. I mean, this thing, easily 4 feet across. That's huge. I was going to split it, but it's not, you know, it gets kind of bare in the center when you have to split these, so I didn't get around to it, and I thought, oh well. These phlox, though, these poor things, they've already got powdery mildew. They're super crowded. They used to have lots more space before these got big, so I'm going to plan to either take those out and transplant them or give them away. The 9-bark, this is Tiny Wine 9-bark, pretty much done blooming, but I like this dark apricot tones that the spent blooms take on. And of course the dark foliage and that arching shape to it. The penstemon is all, a lot more blooms on the penstemon now. Really cute. Bumblebees love those. It's a native plant, and the Leotris, that grassy stuff back there, is about to bloom. Those are both purple. I think they're both kobold is the variety. And then this penstemon is all self-seeded, so I just let it seed as it wants to. There's a St. John's wort getting taken over. That'll bloom yellow. Once the lady's mantle here is done blooming, I trim that back really hard, and then the St. John's wort can really take over. And then the lamb's ears started blooming. A lot of people trim these off, but I like to leave them. Bees absolutely love these blooms. They will be all over this. And I like that bright purple and the texture. And the dogwood looking good. It's starting to really put berries on. I have trimmed some of the long branches. This year it gets so weighed down by rain. It's been so rainy this year. But look at how the hostas look with all this rain. They are glorious. This Ligularia back here, you can't even see it right now. It's so taken over underneath there. I'll have to trim this. It's hard though because it has all these berries that are going to turn white, but it's just too damp this year. The autumn frost hosta is starting. It starts out kind of more of a golden on the edges, and then as the summer goes on, it ages to more of a cream. Love those. And they are super sun tolerant, super tough. Really all hostas are tough. We've got Kiloni turtlehead here. I can't remember now if this is Hot Lips or Tiny Tortuga. I want to say it's Hot Lips, but I'd have to look at the tag. I planted that a few years ago. This one's catching up down here. We've got Ghost Fern, Heuchera. This is the Dicentra something pink from Proven Winners. This will bloom all summer. I love that icy green foliage. The GM, see, they're leaning more and more. This is why I put up those supports underneath, because they kind of lean forward. And this will keep blooming, but it was just covered in pink. Dianthus. This one is Kahori. I just saw it at the store today. I was like, oh, I gotta look at the name. Kahori is that variety. And the Rock and Round sedum. This container is really filling out. Very pretty. I might have to move the Shiny Shoes coleus up a little bit, because I know this Silver Shield Plectranthus gets huge. I should probably trim this back too a little bit, pinch it. Salvia is growing quickly. That thing just grows like a beast. It'll be huge by the end of summer. Bobo Hydrangea is looking good. This one gets the most sun probably, starting to put on buds. I did trim some things back here. The Brunnera hosta is looking nice. And the red-berried elderberry still has its beautiful, vibrant, bright red berries going. I did trim a few branches, but once these berries are done, I'll be trimming this back hard. Like I said before. Whole bunch of blooms on this GM. I may have to get a support to keep it from falling down. This is Red Dragon. First year it's bloomed, and it's been here maybe 2 or 3 years now. But I had some recovery to do. And right behind it is Rainbow's End hosta. And then I have a few Jacob's Ladder back there that are blooming as well. Solomon Seal, nice arching habit. This is a Juga, very aggressive. I always lose the edges of the grass, but eventually I'll be cutting out more of this grass. It is so shallow rooted, it's really easy to control, but you do have to stay on top of it. And then the Jackmanii clematis started blooming. So beautiful. And look how big that bloom is. This one is just a classic. I love it. And this is the first year it's really kind of in getting big now. And this is a larger clematis. I have it on the laundry pole, but I also have a big trellis behind it, or attached to the laundry pole. But that one is just stunning. And I'm hoping that in a few years it'll engulf this whole thing. Really pretty. And then See, this raspberry splash lungwort is looking rough. It's getting eaten up by those beetles. These leaves are getting curly and kind of weird. I don't know what's going on. If it's just too much sun there without the spruce trees to shade it. But the ferns are looking good despite all the sun. The painted ferns. This heucherella also, and the hostas are looking great. They do, especially that blue angel one in the back, they do get shade at kind of the critical point of the day now that we're getting to the longest days of the year. That one is starting to bloom. I do leave the hosta blooms up. I like hosta blooms, especially when you have a lot of different hostas because they all kind of bloom at different times. The blooms look different, so it's more visual interest than having just a field of the exact same hosta, and then it just kind of looks messy. I do trim them though when the blooms fade. We've got, this is dwarf goat's beard starting to bloom. These were supposed to be the same plant, but the foliage looks quite different. That one's a lot finer foliage than this one, but oh well. I don't care, they're pretty. That's all gold Haconocloa. I planted up the impatiens back here, and then there's a moonshine lungwort. Lamium's still in bloom. I planted up this begonia pot with white and pink begonias. These are just basic bronze leaf begonias. And then I put the red ones over here. Bronze leaf begonias can typically do sun to shade. I found that last year. If you get the green leaf ones, they need a lot more shade. But these should all fill in. And making the way over here, Giles Von Hughes Veronica starting to put up some bloom spikes. That blooms pink. I looked this up. This is the Privawinter Silver Gumdrop Heuchera. Those sort of fluorescent red flowers. The Biokovo geranium looking kind of rough. I'll cut that back hard and let it reflush. I see a couple seedlings coming up in the middle too. The Winter Glow Virginia. Over here, Wee Hosta is very happy. This hellebore looks amazing. The purple, Forever Purple Heuchera does not. We'll see how that recovers. I did find a clearance one, so I might pop that in there. Trevi Fountain Lungwort looks like it's getting some slug damage, maybe on the leaves, maybe earwigs. I did put down some bait, but I'll put down a little bit more. And this, the blue drinking gourd hosta, I can tell is getting too much sun in the afternoon. You know, it's supposed to be blue. That blue on these blue hosta leaves is like a waxy coating. And when they get too much sun, that wax kind of burns off. And that's where you can see, it's hard to see, I guess, because of the rain, but where it's kind of that lighter green, looking almost bleached out, that's where it's getting too much sun. So not much I can do. It used to get more shade with the spruce trees here. The only thing I could do was move it, but I think it'll be fine. I will be planting more trees in here, so I think it'll get shade eventually and be fine till then. Oh boy, man, the weeds popped up back here, including these stupid suckers. Gotta dig those out. Sun King Aurelia, just amazing. I just planted that last year. Look how big it is already. And then the Bleeding Heart is done. I love the foliage. It'll start to yellow and go dormant, so I will cut it back. I have this panel of my old raised bed killing off some grass. These I just stacked up there for now. We've got the Cheyenne Sky trio of grasses here. So I think I'll be planting probably a crabapple, like a dwarf crabapple with a columnar habit in this space somewhere. I have more things to plant as well, but I want to get the apple kind of situated. I have to get it ordered. Here is the other opening act phlox, and I think this is the Romance Pink, as well as the one on the patio that's still in a can. And you can see it's more of a solid, it's similar color, that kind of purpley pink, but it doesn't have that white eye in the center. But no signs of powdery mildew on this one or the others that are in the landscape. We've got the Cat's Pajamas Nepeta kind of almost done now. I'll cut that back soon here, but I have an echinacea flower forming. These are the Sun Seekers Salmon. That was a newer variety that I got on clearance last year. Got Solidago, goldenrod. The After 8 lily is putting on buds. Very damaged by the lily beetles, but it's not nearly as bad as the Stargazer lily that I have. Still some of those pretty blue blooms on the Blue Star Amsonia. And this Veronica too. Really cool blue candles. I can't remember the variety now. It's a newer one. But the drift rose is really starting to flush out. It just has like this neon color. It just glows. So gorgeous. And it smells really good. Glad I planted that one. Foxglove here, another Dalmatian peach that I planted last year, continuing to bloom. And the Weigela with its beautiful sort of deep pink flowers. I'll prune this back and size control it a little after it's done blooming. So gorgeous. And more snapdragons opened up. The purple ones I know for sure are Speedy Sonnet purple. I can't remember what the orange ones are. If I started those from seed, I think I maybe bought them last year. That is a Night Embers sedum. And I've got, this is a volunteer echinacea down here. I'll probably trim this guy. But these blooms are starting to open on the Noblesse Yarrow, and this will bloom all summer for the rest of the summer. I'll give it kind of late summer, it'll need a cut back. But this thing is just glorious. It just blooms all summer long. Man, it's tall this year. Daylilies. Ooh, I see the first flowers coming up. Along with the echinacea back here. These are kind of corally color. These are like a bright salmon. Anna's Magic Ball's looking really good. I do think I need to bump that out a few inches though. More Night Ember sedum, this little trio. And then this phlox, the Luminary Opalescent phlox from Proven Winners, is having mildew issues this year. First year it's had mildew, but you can see that yellowing. We just had such a wet year. But it is starting to bloom. And same thing with the Coreopsis back there, about to bud out. And then the amazing Daisy May Daisy is just starting to open now. Shasta Daisy. And I do have volunteer 4 o'clocks down here as well. I'm going to leave a couple. Man, more of them are popping up. I'm going to leave a couple, but I'll move some. I do have a bunch that I seed started. Excuse me, planted the Purple Prince Alternanthera that I started from seed. This is a Mighty Chestnut Daylily. I had to get it. I just hate daylily foliage. It's so ugly, but these blooms are really cool, kind of a different color. And it's kind of rainy and icky today. Tomorrow it's supposed to be humid and hot and miserable. But I think I'm going to have to try and get back here and get the dahlias and the cosmos. These are all volunteer cosmos that's self-seeded here. But they can't grow up around this azalea, so I am going to move the majority of them away. And kind of this whole area back here all the way over to the compost bins. I'll move that bag. This is all dahlias, zinnias, Gomphrena, and cosmos planted here. The Barbara Harrington, walk here without crushing anything. Barbara Harrington started to open. Clematis. I need a much bigger trellis. It grows all the way up to the roof and then kind of falls down and folds over itself. It does great, but I would like it to be taller and stick up a little bit more, especially because that little lime hydrangea is now getting really tall. That one does really well here. Drumstick allium, all budded up. I'll be planting some annuals down here. And this is the Proven Winners Hibiscus Holy Grail. Need to trim this allium. This is kind of what it starts to look like right as it goes to seed. And then these are Shenandoah grasses. So this will be nice and full and beautiful. And then this is an aster that blooms late summer into the fall. I trim it several times through the end of June, so I need to give that another trim, get rid of those growth tips. I've been just eating boatloads of strawberries. I trimmed the garlic scapes on the raised bed garlic. Been cooking with those. My beans are up. Shallot's doing great. I am just going to rework this area over here because I sowed honey nut squash seeds, a bunch of cucumber seeds, and I only have one that came up. So I'm going to re-sow the cucumbers and maybe add more basil. And I'm just not going to do squash. I'm going to take it as a sign. I'm going to do another pepper. Got some other things, cabbage to plant in there, so that's okay. Sometimes things just work out. I have been eating some of the lettuce I need to harvest. Like this one is starting to bolt, where the middle's getting kind of tall. So I'll probably cut that today and harvest it. It's nice and cool today, so the leaves won't have withdrawn all their moisture in the heat of the day. I've cut a few scapes on this garlic, but it's not quite as far along. You can see this is what scapes look like when they're starting to come out. And then they get kind of curly, like this one I could cut. Sometimes they're real thick, but I don't necessarily need to cut those immediately. But you want to cut those because otherwise they'll ruin the head of garlic that you're growing. Because that's them going to seed, and you don't want your crop to go to flower and go to seed. And the leaves are starting to brown. I cut the garlic. They'll kind of start browning from the outer leaves when there's maybe 4 inner leaves still green or not fully brown yet. That's when I cut the garlic or harvest the garlic out of the ground. Got the potatoes here. I had so many issues with the voles last year eating the potatoes. They would just dig right through the edge of these grow bags or climb up the side and burrow in from the top to get the potatoes. So I put it on this little table this year. I'd like to find a better solution for next year, but for now, it's keeping the voles out. Carrots coming up and doing better here under my closet organizer frame to keep the cats from pooping in there. Zucchini and peppers looking good. More peppers, strawberries. The salvia is just about done. I started cutting it back. Nepeta still looking pretty though. The irises, they're done. But we are starting to see blooms here on the yarrow. That was not labeled. It was in the clearance section. And I'm not sure if it's pomegranate. I think it was pomegranate when I compared it to other yarrows that Gertens carries. So we'll see. That is a limelight hydrangea starting to put on buds. This Aurelia is a couple years older than the other one. Sun King, getting humongous. It's just amazing how fast these things grow. I did plant Coleus velvetine down here. And kind of behind the willow, there's a salvia unplugged pink, I think. We've got blooms forming on the stilby way in the back. More buds on the viburnum. Foliage looking good over here. Starting to fill in. More hydrangeas budding. I did cut back these Brunnera. This poor one, I'm just going to wait and see. I have a feeling it's in a low spot. It looks like it sunk maybe over the winter with the freeze-thaw cycles. So I just cut back the blooms. I'm going to give it a couple weeks, see how it does. If the foliage still looks rough, I'll probably dig it out and try and raise it up a little bit in that same spot. So it's not getting waterlogged on its roots. All the water kind of drains. This is all downhill. And I had other things planted where these hydrangeas were, or before. I had like a lilac and something else, and they all died. They started leafing out in the spring, and then it started getting rainy and wet, and they all died. And I think it was because the moisture, because when I dug them out, it was like a mud pit. It was just soaking wet at their roots. So I brought in a lot of topsoil, and I built up kind of a little bit of a hill to even it out. It's still downhill, but not nearly as bad for the hydrangeas, and they've done really great. This is, I'm pretty sure it's sky blue salvia. This one stays a little bit dwarf. Love the color of those blooms. Absolutely beautiful. We've got drops of Jupiter oregano, that beautiful pop, and the Americana salmon geranium. Lots of buds on these echinacea. I see one little flower open down there. And, oh, this clematis. Let's go back over this way. Try not to swing you around too much. But more color on this clematis here. So this is kind of what the blooms do. That deep pink and then lighter pink purple edges. Another one opened there. This gets a lot of shade, and clematis takes a while to establish, so I'm hoping eventually this will just ramble all along the fence. And I'm so excited because the Maggie Daly Astilbe are just loaded with blooms. This has been such a wet year. Astilbe loves tons of moisture. And then this is kind of the bottom of the slope from the yard, so this is what I was hoping for. And it gets more shade compared to where they were. Here's an oxalis weed that grew huge and is starting to bloom. Don't want you to spread. And I trimmed back these Brunnera as well. Not much to see here. Nice little view through there. And we've got this little patch of sedum and the one over by the vegetables that are starting to bloom too. Man, I've just been like pounds of strawberries and they're still loaded up. These are Seascape variety. I do not love harvesting them on the ground, but until I figure out exactly what sized beds I want to add in here, I'll get 2 more of these Vago beds, like round ones, either the berry beds or something like that. Then I will be transplanting the strawberries into the other raised beds. So, but I kind of wanted to live. These beds are brand new this year, and I kind of want to live with the space. It's hard to tell when things aren't big and plants are huge and filled in, kind of how much space you're going to need. So I just wanted to live with it this year before I decide what size beds would be appropriate. Those onyx heucherella back there, I'm so glad I got those. It's like this is a full sun spot, but they're right under that hydrangea. It worked out perfect, so they get nice shade from the hydrangea. These geraniums are just such a bright pop. And then this is a Nepeta, something purr. I always forget the name, but it has purr in it, like a pun, because of course it's catmint. And then this, I can smell this Nesia. It is so fragrant. Nesia Inca Nemesia. Beautiful. The most low maintenance annual you could possibly plant, just about, other than maybe sedum or something, in a garden bed, as long as it's in full sun. I do see buds popping up here on the Millennium Allium. I feel like everything's just ahead this year, ahead of schedule. And then this is Caradonna salvia, that deep, deep purple, spiky blooms. I love this stuff. And the one in the back that's in more shade is splitting open a little bit, but not like other salvias do. The ones in the middle, thinner and more sun, really don't split open hardly at all. But once those blooms are done, I'll trim that back. And this is like hot bubblegum pink Monarda. So I'm always excited for those to open. We've got more, I've got volunteer echinacea all over this bed. These snapdragons are starting to bud up. We've got a Coreopsis bloom, more Nesia Inca Nemesia. This is the Boom Chocolata geranium. Still lots of color on that. I'll trim that back when it's done. You can see those bugs, those beetles have gotten to this one too. Apparently they like that one. This is just like 4-pack Dusty Miller. And then there's a Helenium back there. These daylilies. What are those ones called? Joylene Nicole. Really pretty peach, kind of frilly edges on the blooms. They smell really good. They're pretty dwarf. They stay pretty small. Brunnera, just foliage now. There's just one solo bloom stalk left. And this is a volunteer echinacea. So we'll see what that one comes out as. Here's my patch of white echinacea. I'm guessing it's probably white, but who knows? One of the pink seeds might have migrated. And then these, so this combination I really love. This is, you can see this is getting burned too. It gets a lot more sun than normal midday without the spruce trees. That was unlabeled. I think it might be Halcyon. hosta, but I really don't know. I just wanted a blue hosta and it was on clearance. But this color combination just really works. You've got all your green, yellow, red, and blue in this area, but especially if you put blue next to orange like this, they are opposites on the color wheel. So they just really accent each other and make each other pop big time. So I love the blue and orange combination in pretty much anything. And then that June hosta really glows back there. That ligularia is looking way better than it ever has. Behind the mushroom, you can barely see it because that dogwood's getting intense. So, favorite little area. And then the autumn frost hosta, and we're kind of back to the start again. And berries forming on the, what's that thing called? Viburnum. And let's see, we looked at this. So I think that's it. So update. Garden tour. Those barberries just glow too. Ah, so nice. Now it's starting to rain harder. So I will probably head on inside. Get some laundry done. Hopefully I can get out and do some work out here in a little while too without getting soaked. I have worked in the rain, but it's not fun because you just get completely muddy. So, and the artist blue. These are artist blue ageratum, and then one Aguilera sky blue in the middle. I want to compare. It's my science experiment here to see how they do. So, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Please subscribe.